To save those trapped in the fire, Kuma didn't hesitate to rush in and search. Although he managed to get everyone out safely, their homes were completely burned down, and everyone expressed their anger towards King Beckory. Witnessing the children who had lost their loved ones, the pastor couldn't bear it any longer and rushed into the fire to search. Despite everyone trying to stop him, on the other side, the king was very pleased to have eliminated the southern region. He had followed orders from powerful individuals, treating the lives of the people there as mere grass. He believed that for the country to become beautiful, sometimes sacrifice was necessary. At this moment, soldiers ran in to report that an angry mob was protesting in front of the castle. These were people living in the southern region and neighboring areas. They called King Beckory a murderer and demanded that he send people to put out the fire immediately. The king immediately ordered his soldiers to shoot down a few people as an example, declaring that anyone who dared to defy the king's decree would be executed. Kuma, standing behind, witnessed the entire event. He immediately rushed into attack, even as the soldiers fired their guns. Meanwhile, at the church, Bonney was still waiting for her father to return. Seeing so many injured people, the little girl was extremely worried. At the castle, Kuma had defeated all the soldiers. Seeing this, the king was extremely frightened and wanted to bribe him with money. He even promised to give Kuma the entire area he had just burned, saying that he had cleaned up the trash and there was nothing to worry about anymore. This statement ignited the anger in the kind pastor's heart, remembering the distraught faces of the children who had lost their loved ones due to the fire. Kuma clenched both hands, wanting to end the person in front of him immediately. Taking advantage of his distraction, Beckory used a nearby gun to shoot him repeatedly. However, Kuma's super hard body was unharmed, and the pastor slowly approached. The king still tried to intimidate him, saying that if he touched him, the world government would not leave him alone. In his anger, Kuma activated his devil fruit power. He directly collapsed the castle with a single blow. This event was later called the Solitary Revolution in the Sorbet Kingdom. News that King Beckory had been replaced by someone else was reported to Saint Saturn. He was very surprised and asked who that person was, only to learn that the current king was Kuma. He was supported by all the people and crowned king. Unable to refuse the wishes of the people, Kuma agreed to become the new king to lead the country. However, the father and daughter continued to live at the church and did not move anywhere else. As usual, once a week, the elderly people nearby would come to ask the king for treatment. Although he had become king, in reality, the person running the country was Mr. Bulldog. He called himself a puppet to reassure the people. Remembering when King Bulldog reigned, they were quite poor. However, their spirits were very relaxed because they lived in peace. Some people asked where little Bonney was and then realized someone exercising looked very much like Ginny. Even Kuma was shocked by this sight. After running closer to see, he realized it was Bonney, because she was eager to grow up quickly so she could go to sea with her father. She had transformed her body like this. No wonder everyone mistook her for Ginny. After looking in the mirror, the daughter didn't even realize she had transformed herself. After she transformed back to normal, Kuma realized the child had eaten a devil fruit, but he didn't know when she had eaten it or what power she possessed. He was so shocked that he fainted on the spot. An old man opened a book and saw that Bonney had eaten a devil fruit called Toshi Toshi. The confusing thing was that no one knew when she had acquired this power. And Bonney couldn't control the power yet. The transformation was just spontaneous. Just then, Mr. Bulldog and his mother came to knock on the door. Some people were shocked, thinking that the old woman was Bonney transformed. The little girl was then called Princess by the old man. He introduced himself as the loyal bulldog of the young master's father. Today, he came in person because of an important matter. Kuma and the other friend, realizing their disrespect towards the Empress Dowager, also knelt down to apologize. She was very fond of Bonney, so she didn't blame them. The important matter concerned Kuma. The newspaper reported that he was a tyrant who had burned down a village and then used force to seize the throne. This was clearly Beckory's conspiracy. It turned out that Kuma had not killed him that day but had exiled him from the kingdom. Mr. Bulldog said that he was backed by the world government, so he would soon return to reclaim the throne. Hearing this, everyone was scared, because if King Beckory returned, they would surely be killed. They had thought life had finally become peaceful, so everyone was worried. Kuma promised that if that person dared to return, he would fight to destroy all of his forces. The most worrying thing was that if he did so, he would be considered a criminal and would no longer be able to stay in this country. When that happened, he wanted to ask former King Bulldog to take over the throne and also take care of Bonney for him. Hearing this, he promised to do his best. The cute daughter had now begun to master her transformation ability. Her father instructed her to listen to everyone, as he would have to go far away soon. Hearing this, the little girl was very sad, but knowing that her father was doing it for the country and for everyone, she obeyed and promised to be good at home. The father and daughter hugged each other in happiness. The next day, Kuma set sail on a small boat. As expected, Beckory was helped by the navy. Many warships were dispatched here. As soon as he saw Kuma in front of him, he ordered an attack. However, before he could act, he had already jumped into the sky, and thus the power of the devil fruit was activated. A powerful blow struck 3 warships directly, all of which were sunk. However, Kuma was listed as a wanted pirate. His subsequent actions were considered terrifying, and his bounty also skyrocketed during this time, making Kuma a notorious pirate. As for Bonney, although she was well cared for, she was not very happy, always missing her father. In this country, everyone considered Kuma a hero. Wanting to follow that example, Bonney thought that after she grew up, she would also become a pirate. The scene shifts to Kuma after leaving his hometown. He visited many places hoping to find a cure for his daughter's illness. Unfortunately, no one knew about the disease. Everyone only sympathized with Bonney because she couldn't go out into the light to play. Sometimes Kuma also encountered other pirates who wanted to hunt him down, but he defeated them all, because the doctor had previously said that Bonney would only live for another 5 years. This father tried very hard. The places Kuma visited later were where Luffy's group trained. Disappointed that he couldn't find any valuable information, he cried at night while looking at Bonney's picture. The next morning, the Revolutionary Army unexpectedly passed by. Seeing his old comrades, Kuma was much happier. They all sat together and drank. Dragon said that Ivankov and Inazuma had been arrested. Just recently, Kuma had been considered a tyrant and a notorious pirate, but they did not believe what was written in the newspaper. Betty then expressed her desire to become the commander of the Eastern Force. He asked in surprise and learned that Dragon always kept that position vacant for Ginny in her memory. And as long as Kuma did not agree, no one could sit in that position. After hearing this, Kuma was very happy and immediately agreed. Knowing that Betty was also a wonderful woman, she was overjoyed and immediately went to show off to her comrades, saying that from now on she had become the new commander of the Eastern Force. Besides this, Dragon also said that Sabo, Koala, and the other children all wanted to see Kuma again. The young generation of the Revolutionary Army is gradually growing stronger. He also wished Kuma could see that. It felt great to have good teammates, and he himself witnessed the events happening in the world. He really wanted to return to the Revolutionary Army to help liberate the unfortunate lives out there. Unfortunately, time with Bonney was running out, but Dragon had good news for the father and daughter. He mentioned Dr. Vegapunk, a scientist far surpassing the genius of the Marines. After a recent accident, he had moved to another laboratory, so security was currently very lax. Although not certain, Dragon thought Vegapunk might be able to cure Bonney. Hearing this, Kuma was moved to tears. Finally seeing some progress, Dragon added that the doctor was eccentric but pursued his passion intensely and was very trustworthy. Immediately after, Kuma bid farewell to his old comrade, also thanking Dragon because he had almost given up, and if Bonney could be cured this time, he would rejoin the Revolutionary Army to fight alongside everyone. Dragon smiled and said, "Let the wind decide our fate, my friend." A few days after returning home, Kuma saw his daughter defeat a soldier. It turned out this was how she trained while her father was away. Knowing she would set sail this time, Bonney was overjoyed. Crossing the frozen land, they arrived at Laboratory 8, where Dr. Vegapunk was. Upon seeing Kuma's large body, he was very shocked. Immediately, the doctor proposed to study his body. Bonney's first impression of the old man was his overly long head. After learning the girl was sick, Vegapunk also examined her, realizing it was sapphire scale disease. He affirmed he could completely cure it. Hearing this, the father and daughter jumped for joy. To cure the girl, technology not yet applied in medicine would have to be used. However, a large sum of money would be needed for a complete cure. A preliminary examination of Kuma also shocked him, as he learned Kuma was a buccaneer. Since he was working for the government, they were no different from enemies. Fortunately, the doctor did not pay attention to this issue. They discussed the plan to create countless clones of Kuma to form an army of robots. He would have to donate blood for research purposes. In return, he would not have to pay the huge amount for Bonney's treatment. Although he knew his clones would later fight for the Marines, Kuma still agreed. He felt Dr. Vegapunk was a good person, so it should be fine. Their agreement was also established.